Hi, Muses. Welcome to my Facebook page. I wanted to talk to you today about something that's really helped me in my creative practice in showing up. As I was thinking back, like what has helped build my confidence in my creative voice and what it is I wanted to say in my message, in showing up here for you on my page in public, in front of all these people, speaking on camera, even in all the mess and the imperfection, as well as what brought me back from when I'm feeling lost, when I'm feeling stuck, when I'm feeling disconnected from my creativity. And if you don't know me already, I'm Brenda Manglor. Welcome to my page. Welcome to my world. And I'm an artist. I'm a painter. I do colorful abstract painting. Abstraction for me is about connecting to something deeper than just something figurative. I'm all about your inner landscape and connecting to your spirituality through your creativity, through emotions and memory, and that idea of connecting to the divine within us, as well as to the environment, to our world. And so, but before all the painting stuff, my background was in graphic design. And because that's, after school, it was like, you don't become a painter. That's just not a real thing. That's not what people who live in the real world does. And so I became a designer because it was still creative. It was still connecting to my creativity and all the things that I was being called to do, but I didn't have the courage to pursue outside of what I was able to see, right? And so anyway, long story short, I just heard something, so I'm like, oh. I won't go into my whole background and stuff, but basically, before I started the painting journey and before I left my dream job that I had in design, to start my being a painter and really stepping into and rising up as an artist and really claiming that title, I was too scared to really share about my paintings and to really talk about it and to really actually claim it, right? Because it was new, I'm self-taught, but I kind of knew the kind of paintings I wanted to make. I just didn't feel like I had permission to make it the way I wanted to make it, because I thought there was like rules, because in design there's like computer and there's, just like with any tech, there's like a certain language and a certain rules that you follow and certain process. And so anyway, so I wasn't really prepared, I guess, mentally, and just basically didn't have the confidence or the courage to really step into it. And so what I did to give myself a baby seed, if that makes sense, a seed, a tiny spark, a little baby step of confidence, to be able to really just to hold on to some sort of courage to really explore something new and to share something that was just my own. It wasn't client work. It wasn't something that was briefed to me. It wasn't something that was for my work. It was something from me. And that was to play with things that I knew and loved. And that was typography, which was my designer background. Love playing with typography because I love words, even though, which is totally seems contradictory to abstraction, but I loved words. But letter form and lettering and typography is really just abstract shapes that we give meaning to. And that's what my paintings was all about. It was going to be about these abstract things that we give meaning to, or that we use as symbols, or that we feel connection to, or it triggers and sparks something within us that has meaning and value that is beyond something that you can articulate, right? And so I started with lettering and typography because I loved words and I missed that while I was still developing my painting voice. And I used to doodle when I was bored, when I was at school and trying to focus, but I was all fidgety and my mind wanted to wander off. I used to doodle in quiet times when I was in crowded social situations that I was being forced into, and I didn't want to interact because I wanted my introspective and introverted self needed some alone time, and I would go off to doodle, like, church camp or just being around so many people in general for a longer period of time, and I needed some alone time. Nowadays it's all about journaling and meditating and self-reflection time. But for me, back then, I didn't have that. And so I had doodling. And it was something that I had an excuse to go off on my own to do without being like antisocial and Brenda, why are you being isolated and that kind of stuff. And doodling was my quiet place, and it was my meditative place because I was too fidgety even now to sit quietly to meditate. And I found comfort in that. And there's something to be said, as much as I'm all for jumping into the discomfort, into stretching out of your comfort zone. And I talk a lot about finding your courage so that you can take the next step, so that you can explore and expand and reconnect back to your creativity and do work that is like beyond you and bigger than you, and the next level up from where you currently are, so that you can, in that process, find some deeper meaning as well as mindfulness into your life. But at the same time, I understand when it's really scary, which is why I am all for baby steps. And for me, when I was too scared to still really share my painting stuff, I went back to what I found comfort in, which was doodling, which meant not drawing, because it was very specifically not drawing, because it's not about drawing skills. It was just doodling. And doodling, there's no wrong way to doodle, because that's the whole point of doodling. It was supposed to be free, no pressure. It was about allowing the pen and your hand to just play on the paper, which then gives you space in your mind. Well, for me, when I did it in a meditative way, gave space in my mind to just be present, to release any and surrender any kind of heaviness and fears, and just feeling uncomfortable and all the feels, especially when you're a sensitive, introverted self, as well as just being present. Because if you're a dreamer like me, or you're creative, there's always inspired ideas, there's always new things to learn, there's always daydreams to dream of the future and stuff, and there's always this rallying and chaos and chatter in your mind. And so this gave me a chance to quieten that, to really be present, and just to connect simply to pen and paper. And so I started doing that and sharing. My first kind of step into selling my artwork was actually my deliberate doodles, actual drawings, abstract drawings around inspired words. You can still find prints of that available in my shop on my website. That's not the point today. But what I wanted to share was that idea of sometimes little baby steps, little things that feel insignificant or irrelevant, or not good enough or big enough to make a difference, can be the foundational, or just a little spark of courage to help build your muscles to take bigger and bigger steps towards what it is that you're working towards, of being more courageous in showing up in other ways that might not be connected now. You can't see the connection now, but yet those were the baby steps that I took to give me the confidence to keep showing up, the persistence, the resilience, the consistency, the being able to trust in my own creative voice. So then fast forward all that in this long story that I didn't know I was going to be talking about, but to when I first became a mum, and all the new things of being a mum, you kind of readjust the way you see the world and the way you see yourself. And there was that kind of loss of identity. I was no longer just Brenda, the artist, the creative, the painter, the wife even. I was now a mum, and I was still wrapping my head around that. And I remember just feeling really lost with my creativity and not knowing how to paint, even though my paintings are very abstract and very emotions and stuff. But I can't paint when I'm feeling really lost, and I can't paint when I'm in a negative space, as in a space of feeling frustrated and disconnected and can't think of another word, but lost. And so what I did was go back to my old familiar comfort zone, my deliberate doodles. And I knew that if I kept spiraling downwards in this negative post-natal, anxious, frustrating, lack of sleep, freaking out, overwhelmed spiral that you get in as a new mama, I knew that if I didn't break myself out of that And I knew creativity was going to be my way to get out of that. And as I always say, creativity is a habit. And so I had lost that habit, which is why I was feeling disconnected. So if you ever feel like you're stuck, or you feel like you can't be creative again and you don't know how and you're just not creative, maybe it's just because you're out of the habit of it. And if you're out of the habit of it, just like with any habit, you just start small. And it's okay to start small, but you build it up. And you trust that when you fall, you get back on again and you try again. And it's a practice. And the whole point of the word practice, which is why I call my deliberate doodles a practice, is that it's journey. It's about progress over perfection and a destination. It's about showing up daily and trying again and again and doing small, tiny, incremental improvements. And so I, was struggling with nap times and breastfeeding and all that kind of stuff, and working out this new schedule of mine as a new mama. And I knew I needed to get back into the habit of things. But painting felt like a lot of effort, and bringing out the paints and setting up the studio that had become a mess and was just becoming a storing area of, old baby stuff and new baby stuff. And, so I went back to what was comfortable and simple and no pressure, which was my pen and my paper, just like I did at the very beginning of my creative journey. And I decided for Lent that year, which is a 40-day kind of religious kind of observation of that time. But for me, it was very much a practice about reconnecting to my spirituality, about taking a moment every day for that 40 days to connect to that divine relationship that I have with God, and to remember that in my little human life, even though it feels overwhelming and messy and imperfect, that in the big scheme of things, in my relationship with God, it was such a small part, and yet I was still important, and I knew that that relationship was important. And so Lent, that 40 days, was a structure of showing up daily and just me doing little Lent doodles. And those Lent doodles, again, brought me back, not just into creative flow, into reconnecting back to my creativity, but also finding my creative practice again in small 5-10 minute moments of in between nap times and feeding times, and trying to make food that my baby didn't end up eating, or play times and just having little naps myself. They became little moments, little oases of crazy overwhelmed at that time of my life. Long story short, really what I came on to tell you was this practice, this deliberate doodles practice of simple pen and paper, of doodling, which sounds like that's all there is, which in the end, on one hand, yes, that is all that there is. But my process, my signature process that I developed and really thought about and created a few years ago, was because I wanted to share this practice of not only just doodling and giving you something that is creative that you can do in 5-10 minutes every day to really reconnect to your creativity, but at the same time, you're cultivating a mindfulness practice, a creative practice, a way to reconnect to what inspires you, what you value, to words that hold meaning. So at the same time, you are creating artwork. If you go through my workshop, we will go through that 4-week process of creating an artwork that holds meaning for you. And at the end of it, you have something beautiful to show for it, but also knowing that during that time, you will remember, and it'll be an anchor for that journey that you went through in cultivating this practice of mindfulness, of connection, of just simple, sacred time for yourself, for your creativity, for your relationship with your spirituality. That's your thing. And that is why I'm talking about all this stuff, because the free challenge is coming up. If you want to have a taste, if you want something that is simple for your daily life, and I get how busy that is, and I get how sometimes it feels daunting and overwhelming, or the things that you should be doing, and I don't want that. And so I want to give you a taste of it, a 5-day free challenge. You got to join the free Deliberate Doodles pop-up group, which there should be a link for in this video somewhere. If not, I'll put it in the comments below. Definitely comment below #Deliberate Doodles so that I if you don't have the link, and I will send you the link. And join that group. You will get a taste. You'll go through it very quickly, just because it's only 5 days, a taste of the process, so that you can see how simple it can be, how much you can get done, and how much more than just doodling it can be, provided that you connect and be mindful, which is the whole point, right? To just the pen and the paper, to the words that hold meaning to you, to your search for your creativity, and to develop that habit. And then I would love to welcome you into the workshop, which doesn't start till the 8th of August, but the free challenge is going to start on the 1st of August. This time round, it's going to be a live round. And once you get into the workshop, you always have lifetime access to the actual, any live rounds that come up. And this is probably going to be the last time that it's going to be set like this, because I know I'm starting a whole new season. Can you feel it in the air? There's a whole new season coming. There's, there's a new moon or that kind of stuff. But for me, I just feel like there's a new season coming. I'm really finding my feet again now with the second baby, and she's almost 2 now, and I'm coming out of that first year fog, which if you haven't followed me for a while, you would know. Well, if you have followed me for a while, you would know. I created more paintings in the first year of my second baby's life than I probably have in any other years of my career. And that was because I developed this mindset and this consistency practice. And that really all began by deciding to connect to something simple like doodling with my deliberate doodles practice, because it's not just doodling, it's about that connection and that mindfulness part. Anyway, I wanted to come on to share that with you, because we're going to start really, really soon. The free challenge, definitely get in that group, join it. I think the link is below, so that you can just click to request to join. And at the same time, there's also a resource guide that I totally redesigned, where it gives you the 5 tools that you're going to need to do it. Don't worry, we don't need fancy tools. All of these you probably already have at home. All of them, actually. Maybe 1 or 2 you might need to go out and get, but to be honest, no, I don't think so. I think we all have this, and get that ready. And yeah, I would love to see you in there. I was going to, but I don't think I can now. I was going to share the PDF, but anyway, once you join the group, you will have access to download the PDF resource guide, get through that, because we start on the 1st of August. Because I wanted to start on the 1st of August, and it just works out perfectly. And then we start the workshop itself. If you would like to join us and upgrade to the actual full workshop, I would love to welcome you in. This time round, you will be just joining my Muse Village, where basically it's a village of creative resources that I've developed, and a community where we can have these conversations about creativity as a way of connecting to your spirituality, to yourself, to your inner muse, to finding clarity and courage for your next chapter, the next step, to kind of really create and be intentional about creating a life of joyful purpose. Maybe you're not feeling like anything's wrong in your life, but you're still feeling a little, like meh, right? Where everything's totally fine, but you just feel like you would like more fun and joy, right? And creativity in your life, but you're feeling like that's just too big and too overwhelming, and where can you possibly start? And for me, I found it's always in these small little steps, these little baby steps that might feel like it's not significant enough, not relevant to where it is that you're thinking of wanting to dive into. But these little tiny steps not only helps you build up that courage muscle and confidence in yourself, in your capabilities, in just trying and being open and being led by your curiosity. I'm really big about that. But also it helps you develop that practice of connecting to your own inner wisdom, to your spirituality, to your creativity, where you can then find your answers to your where's your next step, and then one after that, and connecting to this consistency practice. Because just like any relationship, I think of creativity as both a habit but also a relationship to your creativity. And just like all relationships, you need to have that kind of daily check-in. You need to be able to cultivate that flow and that give and take of it, and that is what a practice is all about. Anyway, so I hope that this video found you well. If you take anything from this, if you're looking for something to kind of have fun for 5 days, to have a taste, you have a pen, you know how to write, you know you'll have a pen that works, you have a piece of paper that you can use to try out this deliberate doodles process. Know that what I wanted to say at the beginning was really, it is okay to start small in baby steps, even if it feels insignificant, even if it feels like it's irrelevant. Trust that these little sparks of curiosity are inspired. Oh, I'm interested. Take note of that. Follow it through. Take those little baby steps, because it can lead you to the next big door that's going to open, or it's going to open a window to see a new way of doing something that you've been stuck on, or to really kind of dive into new projects that's going to add and rejuvenate and refresh that joy into your life. We're talking like passion and calling, but sometimes those words feel really a bit big and a bit like overwhelming. So I always start with curiosity and fun and play and experimenting. And the second thing is that creativity is a habit. It's a mindful practice. And if you can start small but still commit to showing up in a fun, open, curious way, even if it's something simple like a pen and paper, trust me, it can lead to so much more, right? That deliberate doodles process has led me to a point where I can feel confident in my creative voice. I know the conversations that I want to have with my art, but that didn't come from just sitting there and thinking about it and hoping it just hits me. Clarity and inspired ideas tend to come while you're doing something, even if it feels like you're walking around in the fog. You have no idea what to do next, but you're just playing and following your curiosity to the next step and the next step and the next step. And also for me to like show up here on these videos and to talk about my process and to share it and to create this workshop, I was looking back at the old videos when I first did this, thinking, oh, I'm going to like cringe at it because, you know, I wasn't very confident on video then. And yeah, at the same time, I could see that, but it was still gold because I gave it everything and I shared. And what I shared, it's classic and timeless, and it still holds true for everything in my life right now about mindfulness, about giving this gift to yourself of simplicity, of using something from your comfort zone, something simple that feels almost too easy to ignore. And that's the trick. Anything that feels like it's too easy to and will be dismissed means also then you can use that easy part to help you step up further and expand and stretch into the scary thing that you're kind of in the back of your mind you were hoping to try but you haven't quite found the courage for yet. That's all for today. I just wanted to talk about that because we start soon on the 1st, which is in a couple days. The link is below to join that free group. I hope that my story and sharing what brought me to this spot in terms of finding courage and finding confidence and be able to find where I am now with my creativity, with being confident in my relationship with it and never fearing that I'm going to run out and that I can always turn to it, especially during times of frustration, overwhelm, lost, just exhausted physically or mentally or emotionally. This is a process that is simple, that you can pick up and put down in between cooking or when you're just having your morning cup of coffee, and I really want to share that with you. And if you've done it before, this is a call out to join the next life round. Share it with your friends. I can't wait to see you guys in there. Make sure you download the PDF, and that is all for today. I will see you guys next time. Bye.